everybody. This is Perch, and I get asked from time to time. So I've seen a number of emails come in. This is one of those where I group a lot of questions together because I think it'll be a more interesting topic this way. But a number of people ask me, so basically, hey, you say you have drinks or dinner or whatever it happens to be with comic creators, you hang out with them. What's the general vibe? What's it feel like? Is it are these people like, are they rude and obnoxious? Are they talking about which characters are going to gay up next, or like what is going on with these things? By the way, that was tongue in cheek. So hopefully every now and then I do get people who mail going, they don't get the sarcasm. That was some sarcasm. So, I mean, the very short and boring answer is that, when you have drinks or dinner or these things with creators, by and large, it's like having drinks or dinner with people. It's neither more glamorous nor more terrifying than just going out for drinks for people. It's people in a social setting, in a setting where they're drinking, tend to be fairly normal. Now, there are exceptions to this, and one thing that I think, and keep in mind, I've done a lot of work in tech, and tech people are the same way as comic book creators in this fashion, in that there's a percentage of those creators who, once they get past, I don't know, some kind of magical number of alcohol. So once they're on drink number 4, things seem to tip over slightly, and they get weird very fast. And then that's where the kind of people who maybe were formerly fairly kind of antisocial or maybe a little awkward or introverted or whatever, suddenly turn into weirdos, and then all bets are off. This is where, you go to a conference and somebody has the 4th, 5th drink, and then they're peeing on the table. By the way, just not to pat myself on the back, but I'm sure it will come across that way. If you're, blackout drunk, pee at a table at drink number 4 or 5, you are a lightweight. I'm sorry. I don't know. Maybe I've just done such catastrophic damage to my liver that but I'm often surprised what tolerance people have. And I do think that there is some truth to the fact that comic book creators, if I'm making a very, very broad statement, there's definitely a greater than usual number of them that seem to not understand their own limits or not understand how to gauge when they're approaching that limit. And then chaos comes in. But no, by and large, there's a small handful of comic creators that are kind of douchey, in real life, that act, very arrogant or just are kind of obnoxious. Those people you generally don't want to hang out with. They're just unpleasant. Have you ever done this? You've gone out with people, and then you come to the conclusion, I don't know, after about like 20, 30 minutes, like you don't want to be there. It doesn't really matter who you're with or why you're there or what's going on, but you're done, or maybe just me. I start kind of immediately like, what's the excuse I can give? Can I just leave? What is it? Now, anytime I give a legitimate excuse, by the way, to somebody, they're going to wonder if I'm blowing them off. The answer is probably yes. But I come to that conclusion pretty quick. And unfortunately, again, if you're like me, when your mind hits the conclusion that you're not going to have a good time and this is a very unpleasant person that you're having to deal with, it becomes super agonizing to spend one more second with that person. Like suddenly the entire situation is magnified to be far, far worse. And that's goes. But by and large, comic creators are like anybody else. There's this whole kind of mythology and illusion that's built up inside of comics and inside of online people in comics that have this very strange perception. And here's where I get myself in trouble on a lot of topics, because I don't believe most people are serious about what they say online. I think, and that's several of the videos where I've made a statement, then people like argue really, really fiercely. In the back of my mind, I still believe they're pulling my leg. They're deliberately putting on an act. They don't actually believe this, because they can't be that out of touch with reality to actually believe some of the things they're shouting about. Now, the reality is this is my flaw, because in many cases people do believe those things. It's actually what they entirely believe, and how they got there, I have no idea, but here we are. But creators do not. I've been in many discussions with creators and editors and other people in comics. What often strikes me, if I'm being entirely honest, is At times, some naiveness, like I've had, creators talk about how, hey, I don't have to pay taxes because I'm still living with my parents. It's like, no, that's not how that works when you're, 26. There's some kind of life skills that I often wonder, like, I've thought at point, where did the education system go wrong? Where did the parenting go wrong? Or can't some of these corporations like hire a coach to come in and give a seminar? I had this idea, and I held on to this idea for probably far longer than I should have, that, the Marvel and DC, kind of the big corporations, could do a lot of good for, comic creators and kind of the industry. And it wouldn't cost them that much money by doing things like hiring a tax consultant to do a 1 hour seminar on why you need to file your taxes and the consequences if you don't. Or, here's where, it's the same thing. Like, if you're Marvel or DC, if I was in charge of these companies, I would hire somebody to come in from either legal or marketing or something, probably a little of both, half legal, half marketing, to say, hey, here's what you can and can't do on your social media feed. I know, you creators, you don't want to be told anything to do on your social media feed, but even though you're a freelancer, there's a few things you can say that will make you unemployable by us. And here's what those things are. And conversely, if you do want to help market the books, and I realize we're not paying you for marketing, but if you do want to do that, here's some simple things that you can do that will maximize, your efforts. You don't have to do it. You're not required to do it, but, here's some things that can help you, help me help you kind of thing, or let me help you. There you go. I still remain somewhat hung up on that idea because I just think it would be smart. And other industries do this. Technology does it, pharma does it, legal does it, finance does it. They will do these classes for their employees. And the reason they do it is kind of general corporate good. But more importantly, they do that because they know if they've got an employee base that's not getting themselves into stupid problems, they're more likely to, have more time to focus on work. So, I mean, it's self-serving, but this is the good kind of self-serving where if you're $1 billion company, it's worth paying, $2,000 to $3,000 to hold a class, especially now with it on Zoom. Like, I don't know, it'd be smart business. But that's the most common takeaway. I'll tell you, I have sat what has to be hundreds of hours of talking to writers, artists, editors, various people throughout the company, and never once have I heard somebody talk about, turning all the characters communist or the gays, that doesn't come up in conversations. Now, granted, it's, all those conversations could be happening when I'm not around. That's certainly possible. Also, I don't think those conversations would happen over drinks. I think people have in their minds that, Jordan White and some of his friends are sitting around, a bar, and they're drinking, I don't know, Jordan White's drinking his mint julep, and sorry, he does strike me as a mint julep guy, though. That's not even meant as an insult. It's the ukulele, it's the crazy mustache. I mean, I think he's a mint julep guy. That's what I think. Anyway, everybody's. I could go down the line. I could actually go down the line and insult people. Alana Smith's got her vodka cranberry. Who else do we have? Jason Aaron's got a beer. Probably an IPA that can't pronounce the name of what's going on there. Anyway, I'm sure these drinks don't match people, or maybe they do. But just conceivably. As I'm now talking about this, I'm realizing that's a fascinating video topic for me that none of you guys would care about. But just going through all the creators and naming what they drink, that'd be very, very fair, very fun. Sean Murphy's a whiskey guy. Absolutely, he's a whiskey guy. Anyway, he's like me. He drinks a lot of liquor. I think. I don't know for sure, but I know he likes whiskey, and I like whiskey. Anyway, but generally speaking, I think people have in their heads that these people are drinking, and that they're plotting ways to kind of F with the fans and all the rest. And it really doesn't happen. And keep in mind that when you're at a convention, which is 99% of the time that I've seen these guys, it's usually at a convention. The people the creators, the editors, whoever it might be from the comic book industry, are surrounding by loving, adoring fans. It's everyone around them is super pumped, super excited to be there. They are celebrities. So they're not sitting around going, man, I wonder how we could make the fans' life terrible. They're not having those conversations because why would they? In the context of that particular moment, in that conversation, they're doing everything right. To me, I think the conventions, in many ways, I think a combo of the convention and social media gives editors, in particular, more than anybody else, the exact wrong impression of what's actually going on in comics. And there's another video to be made. I will make it in a moment around kind of how do you get customer feedback and how do you actually make that worthwhile to you? And are comics getting good customer feedback and making it worthwhile? The answer is no, by the way. But that's that. Those conversations are generally benign. They're generally about shows that people want. They're generally about, I don't know, people are trying to out fancy each other. Like it's funny with wine. It used to be with wine. Now it's usually with whiskey or with scotch. Crews be like, well, that bottle's from Spain, and Spain has Rioja, and that's what Spain is known for. So I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, what do you do when you're drinking with people? You just smile and you kind of nod, and I'm sitting there going, I ruined my liver. I for this anyway. But yeah, if you get a chance, if you're at hotel lobby bar, if you're wanting to go meet a creator, so you go to a comic convention. Generally speaking, most of the people who are coming to the convention are in the same one or two hotels. Depends a little bit on the city, but generally they're confined to a couple hotels that are close to the area, and they are they hang out at the hotel bar at night, and you can go down there and you can generally see some people and everything else. The trick is if somebody's in there enjoying a drink. It is not the appropriate time to go there and take your comics to be signed or start fangirling away. If you want to learn what these people are like or have a conversation, then you're going to have to approach it like trying to strike up conversation with a normal person at a bar. And seems silly for me to say out loud like that, but that's the trick. Go over, be normal. Buy someone a drink or just buy yourself a drink and kind of hang out nearby and play it cool. Don't act weird. And generally speaking, many creators are happy to talk to you. I think a lot of writers, artists, less so editors, but definitely the writer artists, they kind of have this radar up that if you start acting really weird, then they close up in a hurry and they find different places to be. If you're just going to hang out there and just say, yeah, how was your day? It seems like probably busy there. Were you able to break away during the middle of the day? Were you signing all that? Like how did it go? That's a good conversation starter. If you go in and say, hey, I know you did Action Comics number 793, and in that issue, Lex Luthor turned into a midget, and why did you decide to do it that way rather than have him be a leprechaun? Leading with that probably is that's like a third or a fourth question in your conversation. That's not the one you go in with. But anyway, most creators are cool. I can say with a straight face, most conversations I've had with are cool. Then in many cases, some of those cool conversations turn to weird drunken debauchery that then was kind of a train wreck. Very rarely, there's a couple people that definitely have an ego, and they're probably all the usual suspects, Charles Soule and others, that are kind of annoying to kind of hang out and deal with. Fortunately or unfortunately, the people with the big egos generally don't want to hang around with you either. So they're fishing for a more important person in the room than you. And, so that problem kind of works itself out. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just randomly lucky, but I've thought many a time that if people, especially the people who are really hacked off at creators, really pissed at with the state of comics and what creators are doing to comics and everything else, if they had the opportunity to go to a bar, share a drink with some of these people, a lot of that anger would kind of dissipate because you'd quickly realize that these are just, kind of people like you making good decisions, making bad decisions. In some cases, you I don't know, no matter how, and this is just me, I'm not saying this has to be you, but it's just me. No matter how, if I'm really angry about the direction of a comic and what I think editorial is doing to a comic, and then I go and I have drinks with said person in editorial, and they talk about how they don't know how to do their taxes, and They don't pay insurance on their car. What was the exact? I had a conversation with somebody who was, I don't pay insurance on my car. I don't plan on doing that until I get in an accident and I need it. And I was saying, well, if you get in an accident, they're going to check your insurance. And they're like, no, 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 you have a 30-day grace period for that. And I go, I don't know who told you that information, but that's not how insurance works. And generally you have to have proof of insurance. Like if you get pulled over for a speeding ticket, they're going to check your insurance. So you can't let your insurance lapse. You need to actually have that, and the answer I got was like, well, I'm not going to get caught speeding. It's like, well, I mean, okay. I mean, fair enough. But once you have a conversation like that, it's harder for me, at least, to go back and get really, heated and intense about what that editor is doing on the comic. It takes a lot of the wind out of those sails. I just like, well, I'm still pissed about this comic. I still don't like it, but the team behind it doesn't know you need car insurance. And so, I mean, I can be mad, but I feel like at that point I'm being mad to Cat, or, like it's hard to get a lot of heated emotion when you see somebody who's making a complete train wreck out of their life in other ways. I don't, again, just me, but that's how I work. Anyway, so there you go. Creators, the creators are like you and me. They're just normal people. Yeah, by and large they are. I wish. I mean, I still hold out hope. One of these days, I'm going to go to a convention, and people are going to not recognize my voice. Tons of people are now recognizing my voice. Like the gig is up. Like I can't go and just have a conversation. Like I know you, but I still want to have that conversation one day. And here's where I wish. By the way, comic bros who are listening to this right now, next time there's a convention and you see me there, can you prank me a little bit? I would love it if you would just like call me. You're like, hey, it's that guy. It's Perch. Come on over here, have a drink. Well, it's like you said you'd buy beer in your video, so pony up. Let's have that beer. And I'm like, okay, I'll get the beer, and then launch into a conversation about how you plan to warp and destroy comics, and like you're serious. Do it for me. Just it'll be funny. It'll be fun because I've been arguing that doesn't happen for years, and you could make me look like an asshole. So please do it. It would be hilarious. Anyway, there you go. It's a lot of nothing, which is what people say about my channel all the time. Thanks for listening.